abusua ya mamu akwa baba for 1G we new to the channel abomaden so subscribe like videos no share and leave a comment abusua nana de dan kwa asem bi akwa na kyese anafo atama omo twina bobu obi e ka de ne da ba ade na nana do akwa no akura bi na kyese students na visit nana do e wo Jubilee House na no bisa questions. A question back probably say I said think now out of all the people no more MPP man or more Ghana and to choose Bawumia as his vice president now the case because say now when you say Bawumia free northern region now because no pay unity southern part and the northern part need to see Bawumia and yeah no because of Bawumia smartness and the boldness and wisely say with me kasa with me can be hano and also with me can boss wasem I won't for BNC into to choose Bawumia. Na nkofo bi afa ye no de ka ho de yankunenkuti na nado nsem no kan no na comment say di echi
to ask why out of all people did you choose Dr. Bawumia as your vice president?
Of all the Bawumia as my vice president. Oh goodness, those are many questions. But I think you're aware of our country in terms of the balance, people from the south, people from the north. I think that for the unity of the country, it is good that we have a leadership where northerners and southerners are together so that the country can remain united. He's from the north, and I wanted somebody from the north to partner me for the elections and then for the governance. He's also a very clever man, and I needed his brains to help me govern the country effectively. And he's an honest person. He speaks honestly to you. He's not one of those people who you have to guess what they're trying to say. He will say what he has to say very directly, and I like that. I prefer to deal with people who are also very direct in what they say. But these are some of the reasons why I chose Dr. Bawumia to be my vice president.
We also do know that Global Info Analytics has put the vice president up there, and Kennedy, Japan, following, but overwhelmingly saying that the vice president could win. And if you look at the margins, it also means that the vice president has a lot of support within the delegate base of the MPP. So, what do you make of all these? It looks like the race was decided even before it started.
Well, good morning to you, good morning to my senior colleague, and good morning to the people of Sisala East. Let me first of all express my appreciation to TV3 for the efforts that you are making in getting relief for the affected people in the Volta, Eastern, and some parts of the northern region who were affected by the spillage of the Akosombo Dam. I mean, it is such an enormous job that you are doing, and many other media houses and individuals who are contributing so much to give hope and keep livelihood of the affected people. I so much appreciate your effort, and I thank you and the many others who are supporting these affected people. Now to the question of whether it was decided before the race started. I don't think so. I mean, anybody who wants to go for an election must work very hard for it. And from where I sit, I think that the vice president has, over the last 16 years, ever since he was selected as running mate in 2008 to President Akufo-Addo, he's been working very hard. He's somebody who has visited every constituency more than 5 times over the period, and he keeps visiting. He keeps interacting with constituents and party people, and virtually has won the hearts of many people who sees him as a very hard-working person. As somebody,
the vice president?
Yes, very hard-working. I mean, Roland, you see him all over the place in the political space, across all regions, across all constituencies. There are politicians who never visit some regions in 4 years. who never visit a constituency in 4 years. But the vice president on daily basis, if you follow him, you see him moving around the country and working. And so, I mean, they say hard work pays. So I sincerely believe that it is the hard work over the period that has gotten him that massive support. And the fact that people are convinced, people within the MPP are convinced that he's the best person to lead the MPP to break the 8. You know, since this republic, no party has gone beyond 2 terms. So it's not going to be easy having...
So the vice president, the one who can lead the MPP to go beyond the 2 terms?
Beyond the 2 terms, and I believe that is why he's enjoying such massive support from across the country and within the party. Unfortunately, some people, especially our opponents, try to suggest, even some people within the party try to suggest that people are being whipped in line, people are being forced to support. Roland, in this day and age, can anybody force me as a member of parliament who has been elected by, first of all, I went through primaries, and the delegates in my constituency elected me as candidate. I went through general election, and I was elected as an MP. And the determination whether I come back to parliament or not will be determined by my constituents and nobody in Accra.
Really?
Yes. It's my constituents who, first of all, it is the party delegates who will determine whether I'll be re-elected to be the party's candidate. And if I am able to achieve that, it is the constituency, Sisala is people who determine whether they'll bring me back to parliament or not. It is not anybody in Accra. So there's no way anybody can force me or can gag me to support somebody if I don't choose to do so. I mean, it's not possible. And so my decision to support Dr. Bawumia certainly cannot be because I have been whipped in line.
I'm told that I'm told that you, the MP, started a strategy.
What strategy?
By choosing your own MMDCs. And then following that...
That is not true.
It's just rumor?
That is not true. There are many MPs who have DCs which they didn't support. Of course, there are others who have MMDCs who they supported. There are others who got MMDCs who they didn't support. So it is not true that MPs determine the choice of MMDCs. It's not true. Some coincidentally, some MPs got the people they wish they wanted. Some didn't get. I know many of my colleagues who didn't get the choice of MMDCs they wanted. Of course, there are others who, because it is the power of the president to determine who becomes MMDC. So if, in your estimation, you want Mr. A, and it happens to fall within the expectation of the president, then you may get that favor. But if it doesn't, of course, it's not possible that you get the person that you wanted. And I mean, there are several examples out there that not all MPs got the choice of MMDCs they wanted. So the point I am making is that the Vice President, His Excellency Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, has worked hard to become the flag bearer. And the decision of delegates to vote for him in the Super Delegates Conference could not have been people being whipped in line. Party executives, how are they being whipped in line? I mean, on what grounds? Members of Parliament, national executive officers, founding members of the party. I mean, how can this category of people, the elite group within the party, be whipped in line? I mean, we've had primaries before where it is perceived that the certain president supports somebody and the person doesn't. I mean, for instance, in 2007, it was perceived that President Kufuor wanted Alan. I don't know what. At the time, I was a constituency secretary.
You were constituency?
Yes, I was constituency secretary.
So how do you feel now that President wants Bawumia?
But President hasn't told me he wants Bawumia. As I sit here, I mean, President has never indicated anywhere that he wants Bawumia. I mean, I can deduce from probably his that maybe he may want Bawumia, but he hasn't told me directly anywhere that he wants Bawumia. But the point I am making is that there is no way somebody can be whipped in line. Reasonable people like us. I mean, are we stooges, MPs? Are we stooges that we don't know our left from right? That somebody can force us to go and vote for somebody that I don't want? I mean, how is that possible? Because my re-election or otherwise is going to be determined from my constituency, not from the presidency, not from Accra, not at the MPP headquarters. If the headquarters even wants me, and the delegates of Sisala don't want me, on the day of voting, and I have people who are contesting me, and I have accepted the contest. It's a democratic process. I contested a sitting MP, and I was elected. So today, if people are contesting me, why will I say that it is not fair?
Okay.
I mean, I have to go for the contest. So at the end of the day, it is the constituency who will determine my destiny as to whether I will continue as MP or not, and not anybody in Accra. So the issue of people being whipped in line is completely out of place. And now to my last point, the comments of the president being perceived as a tacit endorsement of Dr. Bawumia. Well, I mean, I would say it's coincidence. School children visited him, and they were allowed to ask the president questions. And fortunately or unfortunately, one of them asked why, among all the people of Ghana, he decided to choose Dr. Bawumia as his vice president. And of course, the president has a duty to answer. And I believe probably the president would have spoken more if not for the current circumstances.
He told you that?
That is my suspicion. But because of the current circumstances, he had to be measured so that people don't see it. Because if he had gone even beyond this, then you would have seen the reactions and counter-reactions and all that. But the president, under the circumstances, had to. And he gave, I believe, his honest answers of the fact that he was considering the northern, southern, as a candidate who was from the south. He thought that for national cohesion and national unity, there was a need for him to pick somebody from the north so that there is that kind of balance and tolerance and national cohesion. And above that, he felt the vice president had the required knowledge and intellect to support him in terms of ideas and to run his government and all that. And the fact that the man is an honest man, I mean, and anybody who knows Dr. Bawumia would agree that he's a very honest man. He speaks his mind. He's a straightforward person. And he's somebody you can always enjoy working with. So I believe it's just coincidence. It was not a deliberate attempt by the president to make a comment by way of saying positive things about the vice president as a way of endorsing him or appealing to delegates to vote for him.
Okay.
No. And I don't think that this statement is the statement that will determine how delegates will vote. Delegates already have...
They've decided who they want.
Decided who will help us break the eight, and that is Dr.
Now,
Bawumia.
I have Pakwesi Oreni, who is saying supporting someone means he or she is your preferred one. I don't think mature people like this can be forced to like or support a candidate. I think also going with your points.
Yes, yes.
On the sidelines, what do you make of all this from the opposition party? Because you already have John Dramani Mahama as the presidential candidate to go into 2024.
Let me start by saying good morning.
Press conference, there was a meeting between members of parliament and the president, and a lot of discussion went on. And out of the discussions, I mean, the demands were, slowed down. And I don't think that the fact that there was engagement and the people who demanded for the removal of the finance minister means that they have been whipping line. In politics or in democratic practice, when you raise concerns or you make demands, it's subject to discussion and negotiation and understanding, and sometimes coming to a compromise. That doesn't mean that you have necessarily been whipping line. I don't think so. And it is the democratic right of members of parliament to disagree with the president on some appointment. But the president also still reserves the right to keep to his decision. That doesn't mean that those members of parliament have been whipping line. But to some issues that lawyer Malba raised, I mean, he's somebody I respect so much because I started watching him long before I came into the media space. So he's by far my senior, and I have a lot of respect for him. But you see, we have to be circumspect in some discussions that we have. Both Dr. Bawumia as a Muslim and former President John Mahama, who is NDC's candidate, as a Christian, will appeal to the opposite side.
Whether Christian or
Muslims.
Okay.
It doesn't mean that the fact that John Mahama recently attended the Mualud program in Kumasi, where a Muslim program, he was received, he was given the audience, he spoke on the platform, and former President Mahama had been going to Muslim programs. Doesn't make him a Muslim. should that stop him from the fact that he's a Christian? He should not have interactions with Muslims. So if Dr. Bawumia go to churches to interact with churches, what is it? Bring identity crisis in him. He's the vice president. He's a politician. The people he leads, some of them are Muslims, some of them are Christians, some of them are traditionalists and all that.
Buddhists,
and you need to work with all of them. There must be national cohesion. There must be togetherness, irrespective of your
Money says, I should ask you, why is it that he went professing Jesus Christ? He says you can go and preach to Christians without professing Jesus Christ as the Savior and Messiah if you are a Muslim. He says that it is haram.
You see, it depends on. That is why in Christianity, you have different sets of Christians, isn't it? Sometimes the understanding of the Bible varies. Is that not the case? Muslims have the same thing. So, I'm a Muslim.
So Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is what?
Listen, I'm a Muslim.
Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is what?
He's a Muslim.
Which sect of the Muslim?
I don't know. I can't speak for him. But the point I'm trying to make is that in Islam, as a Muslim, my understanding is that Jesus Christ, the Quran, recognizes Jesus Christ as a prophet. The only disagreement of we Muslims, or from my understanding, is Jesus Christ being said to be the Son of God and being God. But Muslims recognize him as a prophet of God who even came before Prophet Muhammad. So he's mentioned in the Quran. So if Dr. Bawumia as a Muslim mentions him as a prophet, as somebody who came before Prophet Muhammad and all that, how can that be haram? It depends on the person's understanding of Islam or Christianity. But the point I am making is that the fact that me, as a Salaman, says that Roland, who is I don't know your tribe.
It's a Ghanaian.
But he comes from a part of Ghana. Okay, you are a Frafra man, I know you. If I say Amalaba, a Frafra man is my brother, how is that identity crisis? How is that? So if your Vice President Bawumia says that Otumfuo is his father, that becomes identity crisis.
So as an man, if I go and say Otumfuo is my chief,
he's your chief. I mean, that cannot be identity crisis. No. Every chief in Ghana, especially for politicians,
our chief.
You have to respect the person as a chief. If the person is a fatherly figure, you see him as a fatherly figure. If the person is a senior brother, I mean, you see him as a senior brother. That doesn't give you identity crisis. So, Amalaba, on this point, I'm quite disappointed. You can't say that the fact that the vice president visits churches and interacts with Christians, he identifies with Otumfuo as his father, creates identity crisis. No, not at all.
Okay.
I mean, we all adopt people who are from different parts of the country, or even from outside the country, as a fatherly person who will support you, who will guide you in whatever you want to do. And that doesn't bring you identity crisis. So, and John Muhammad does same. Now, he also talks about the question the child asks to mean that the child felt the vice president was a disappointment, and that is the point. I mean, you can have your interpretation. But for me, none of us is on the mind of the child. But the child asked the president, why will you choose Bawumia among the many people that you can decide to interpret?
He's saying that because of the times we are in, as an empire, middle person, you should know how to answer it.
I mean, what times? There are economic challenges in Ghana. Nobody has. Nobody has.
We are going to an election.
Listen.
To elect somebody to lead the governing party, and you as president,
are you suggesting that you shouldn't have answered the question?
It's not my suggestion. I'm taking comments from social media.
So the president should have answered the question.
Should have been smarter than that.
What's the matter?
Should have answered it.
Lawyer, don't use these unkind words. What do you mean
smarter than that?
So the president wasn't smart?
No, he wasn't smart on this occasion.
So how would you have treated the question?
I'm not the one they asked the question.
But I'm asking you.
You can
tell us what you would have done. So you can't just be mischievous.
If you want to ask me questions, apply to Media General.
I am saying, if you were in the president's shoes, how would you have answered the question?
Apply to Media General for the position of a host.
You see, he's just being mischievous.
What do you mean by
otherwise, he should have told us that if I were the president,
answer your questions.
If I were the president, I would have answered this way, so the Ghanaians would judge you.
Okay. Do you think the president should have answered it the way he did?
Yes, for me, that is